Welcome to the Holistic Living Podcast, my beautiful friends. You can expect my uncensored, real, and honest thoughts on a wide variety of health topics. If you love to learn on ways to improve your health, your life, your mindset, your emotions, and everything in between in a natural way, you are in the right place, and I am so excited to have you here. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 20 of the Holistic Living Podcast. Today we're talking about some of the really common factors that damage and destroy our gut and our gut lining. So just really bringing down our gut health. I want to break it down for you. There's some things that you might have heard of, but maybe don't understand why they're impacting your gut the way they are. But there's also probably some factors in here that you might not have even considered. So I hope you enjoy and learn something through this episode. I think you all love hearing about the gut. These gut episodes usually do the best in terms of performance as well. So hopefully you enjoy. I'm going to just jump in. I want to just give you a little bit of insight, something that most of you probably are already familiar with, but a little insight into why our gut health is so important. And then we'll get into the different factors. So our gut is almost like, it's not our first line of defense. Our skin is actually our first line of defense for our immune system, but I would say it's a very close second. Our gut is what's protecting us from pathogens, viruses, and toxins from the outside world. So, imagine if we did not have strong, healthy guts and we were consuming and ingesting harmful toxins and poisons and pathogens that are on the surface of our food. These would all be absorbed into our bloodstream and then sent throughout our body. The beautiful thing about a healthy gut is the fact that it is keeping a lot of toxins and chemicals and pathogens and things outside of our bloodstream. It goes into our gut and is eliminated through our stool. And hopefully, if something is absorbed, it's only a small amount because the majority is pushed out through our stool. Having a strong, healthy gut doesn't only protect us from pathogens, viruses, and toxins, though. It is protecting us from and helping us with so much more. So a proper functioning gut, a gut that's healthy and strong, actually helps us produce a lot of our B vitamins from the probiotics that are there, which help our energy, our mood, so many different enzymatic processes, our hormones, and so much more. Our gut is also what's allowing us to take something that's foreign, which is food and water, taking something that our body does not, that's foreign to our body recognizes but does not use as part of our system. So it's taking something that is foreign and tolerating it. It is allowing us to bring something foreign into our system without attacking it or reacting negatively to it. So food is the only foreign substance that our body actually tolerates without a reaction, or at least it should if our gut is healthy and strong. So for us to have that ability to put food into our body and then to have it broken down by our gut, have the nutrients extracted and absorbed to support our health, and then have the extra parts, the waste, excreted from our body is so incredible, and something that no one really stops to think about how incredible this process is. It's just, we're eating and this is something that we've always done. It doesn't really matter. It's nothing special. It is so important and so special that our body is so intelligent that it can recognize food we will tolerate, but anything else we're going to elicit a reaction towards. Obviously, as your gut starts to become much more unhealthy, the body loses that oral tolerance and it starts reacting negatively to foods as well, seeing foods as a harmful substance that it does not tolerate. But at least if the gut is healthy and strong, that's what's happening, is your body's differentiating between food and everything else and allowing certain things to come in and certain things to not. It protects us from viruses, from pathogens. It's helping to keep toxins out of our blood. And on top of all that, we're producing a lot of B vitamins through our gut. Our immune system, 70% of our immune system is in our gut. So it's fighting so much for us constantly. There's so many important things to have and reasons to have a strong and healthy gut. And so that is what we're diving into today. So the first thing that I will say, the first factor, and I'm going to list this one because it's a really common one, and that is stress. I know this is going to sound like a broken record because I talk about this all the time, and I'm sure you hear other practitioners talking about stress as well. But I have to go through this, and I'm going to share exactly what is happening from the moment you're stressed to the moment that it's impacting the gut. We all have stress in our lives, and I'm not going to be delusional and tell you, oh, just cut out your stress, because most of us have stress in our life from things we cannot cut out. Okay, children, for example. I love my kids to death, but man, they cause me a lot of stress. It could be family stress. It could be financial stress. So you can maybe change your finances somewhat, but if you are struggling with finances, that is going to cause you stress. There's certain things you can't change necessarily, and of course, things we can. And if we can change the stressful things in our life and get rid of them, please do that. But most of us have stress in our lives from things we can't change. And so obviously, I'm not going to tell you to cut out your stressful triggers. It's great if you can, but obviously most of us can't. What I will tell you is to teach your body to not react and not go through that stress chemistry when you are stressed out. This is really important because you can have a stress in your life. Say you have a lot of kids and you're just overwhelmed all the time and there's no time for yourself, and maybe you're financially strained as a result, and et cetera, et cetera. You can't stop the financial or the stress from not sleeping and just taking care of so many people, but you can tell your body, hey, I'm stressed, but I'm fine. So let's not create inflammation. Let's not go through the stress chemistry reaction because I'm fine. And I'll go through how you can do that. But before I do, I want to explain what stress is actually doing to our body. So say you are super stressed out because you run from dropping off your kids at school to work, back home to cook and pick up the kids and clean the house and, you know, do your daily tasks around the house and try to, you know, have somewhat of a relationship with friends and maybe go to the gym and all these other things that you're trying to juggle and balance, and then do sports as well. And if you're religious, go to church and do all these things on top of that. So if you are just burnt out and overwhelmed, what's actually happening when you're going through this stress reaction or response is your body, it starts off in the adrenals. So your body gets stressed out. Your brain is like, oh, there's some stress here. So your adrenals are going to be pumping out cortisol. Cortisol is going to increase the it actually begins the whole stress chemistry, but it starts to increase the inflammatory side of the immune system. The Th2 side starts to get activated. You start to get inflammatory cytokines produced. And more importantly, not only are you now getting inflamed from stress, but it's going to affect your blood sugar. So your blood sugar starts to get dysregulated, which is huge, especially for people who already have a blood sugar imbalance. But even if you don't, it's going to create mood imbalances further. It's going to create hormonal imbalances. It's going to burden the liver and so much more. But beyond all of that, another and very important thing that's happening is when we are going through stress, blood is shunted away from our digestive organs and taken to our extremities, the heart, the arms, the legs, etc., literally for that fight or flight response. So our body says, there is a stressor, you need to run. I'm going to supply enough blood to your extremities so you can run faster, so your heart can keep up and pump quickly. We are not going to worry about digestion right now. That's not a priority. And so because we're talking about the gut today, this is a huge factor. If you are stressed chronically, if you're always having this type of a reaction going on in the body, you are not very often at all having enough blood in your digestive system to encourage proper digestion. So what's starting to happen is now the enzyme release is much less in the gut because it's actually your thyroid that signals the hydrochloric acid release from the blood. The molecules come in from the blood through the stomach to bind and create hydrochloric acid to encourage digestion. So it's this blood that's signaling this. And beyond that, the stress chemistry that you're going through is supposed to be, if it's acute, it usually has an anti-inflammatory response. But when it's chronic and your adrenals become burnt out, you don't get the cortisol release as much, which cortisol is anti-inflammatory. So you end up with just the inflammatory reaction, no cortisol to shunt it down or stop it. And so you have elevated inflammation throughout the entire body. And this inhibits this stress reaction, creates brain inflammation, which creates gut inflammation. So it inhibits your vagal motor outflow. We have a vagal nerve that connects our gut and our brain together. And so if you have inflammation in one area in the brain, you'll have it in the gut and vice versa. So this vagal motor outflow reaction now that you're having is creating inflammation in the gut, and it's inhibiting what we call peristalsis, or that downward motion, or that migrating motor complex, the natural innate motion that our gut has to push things downwards. So if you eat a meal, it's continuing to move from the stomach to the duodenum, to the small intestine, to the large intestine, and then out through your stool. And this is that peristaltic motion, that downward motion that naturally will occur. So even if you're hanging upside down, you're still having this downward motion. Your intestines are doing this squeezing motion, continuously pushing everything through the gut. But you lose this when you are stressed. You lose this when blood is taken away from the gut and sent to your extremities. And you lose this when you start to lose that vagal motor outflow because of chronic stress and that constant brain inflammation, which therefore creates gut inflammation. So I hope this is all making sense. I know I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between different things, but I hope that you're kind of putting this together. So essentially, to recap, when you are stressed out, you are losing, first and foremost, your enzyme production. Your blood is taken away from your digestive organs, so they're not really functioning optimally. And so food is going to just sit in the gut and cause more inflammation. You're losing your migrating motor complex, or peristalsis. So now food is not only not moving down and it's kind of just sitting in the gut, creating inflammation, but now it's actually going to allow things to move upwards. So we have pathogens in our colon and our large intestine that will now be able to move upwards because that downward motion has stopped, and they will come into the small intestine where they should not be. They're going to feed off of food sitting in there, digesting and fermenting this food, and that's what's going to cause gas and bloating, aka SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and this is going to just exacerbate all of the symptoms that you're having. And now you're having major gut inflammation. You're not going to absorb your nutrition. Your gut lining is going to start to get damaged and separated from the pathogens that are now overgrowing there, and so much more. So all of this is happening just because you're stressed out, which is really crazy to think about. So what we need to be doing are things to lower this stress chemistry. So even if we're stressed, to stop this reaction that our body's going through every time we're stressed. And that's what I'll share with you next, are some tips that you can use for that. And then we'll go into the other factors that are affecting your gut without you even realizing it. So like I said, we know stress is really bad. If it's acute, that's okay. Our body can handle that. Our adrenals can handle that. The cortisol that is released when we're acutely stressed will be anti-inflammatory and will prevent all of this inflammation from building up. It's the chronic stress that we have where our adrenals get burnt out and we have lack of cortisol production that ends up causing us to have chronic issues. So how do we tell our body to not go through stress chemistry? Well, I actually have a whole ebook on this, and I also have so many blog posts and YouTube videos, so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but I will give you the basics. First and foremost, you need to stimulate the nervous system to calm itself down. And so one of the ways that I like to do that is deep breathing. This, I get told by my clients all the time that it seems like it's the most useless thing to do because you can't physically feel anything happening. But if you do it consistently, you will notice your inflammation is less and you feel so much better, because what deep breathing is doing is, as you're going through stress, you just are like looking at your finances and you're like, we are broke. We can't make our bills this month. You're so stressed out. But as you're going through that, you're deep breathing. So you're telling your body, okay, I'm worried and overwhelmed, but I'm breathing through it. I don't need this crazy stress reaction. If you are running around driving your kids to school and trying to do all the things and feeling stressed out, that's normal. But if you breathe slowly through it, deep breathe through it, that is going to, again, shut down that stress chemistry. So I always like to do, I deep breathe throughout my whole day. Not every breath is a deep breath, of course, but I will take chunks of my day, especially when I notice I'm getting stressed, and I will just relax my shoulders, move on with my day, but just take really slow, deep breaths in and out. But I also like to allot a time in my day, maybe 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 20, whatever you can do, whether it's while you're driving, in the shower, whatever it might be. And I will breathe so slowly. I inhale slowly. I hold my breath for several seconds, and then I exhale really slow. And I just do that over and over. And this will switch you from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic state. On top of that, finding things that are going to just naturally spark joy is really important. So this is where I always say, if you can, do something that you enjoy every day. And I know moms and busy parents are going to say there is no time for that, but sometimes you can even carve out 5 minutes. And if it's just 5 minutes of watching a funny YouTube video, or 5 minutes of watching a clip of your favorite show, or maybe 5 minutes of having a little treat for yourself, whatever it might be, just do something that physically makes you happy and brings you joy. And that also will calm down the nervous system just by smiling or by laughing. Now, another thing that I like to do is take adaptogens. I love maca. I really like taking ashwagandha and astragalus, these and holy basil. You can do a blend. You can do one of these. You can do it in a tea form, a tincture, a capsule. But these herbs adapt your body to stress and your adrenals to the stress response. So they're very helpful in calming down the stress chemistry that would take place. So that's important. I always like to do something like that daily. And then on top of that, you can also do calming things. So valerian root is like a nervous system calming remedy. If you don't want to do valerian, you can do lemon balm or chamomile. These are very calming. You could do passiflora plex, homeopathic. So find a remedy that's calming you if you have anxiety, and you can take that alongside the adaptogen. Hot Epsom salt baths, inhaling lavender essential oil. These are some things you can do as well, or just having it diffusing in your home to just calm yourself down, your nervous system down. If you do all of these things, and even make sure you're trying to get, if possible, a full 8 hours of sleep, which I know is impossible for most parents and busy people, but do your best to get whatever sleep you can, about 8 hours worth if possible. That will also really help the stress chemistry and stress reaction. So that's about it. We've been spending a lot of time on this one point, so I'm going to move on to the next couple points, which will go a little quicker. So the next one is cold liquids. This one is just simple. You can imagine what happens when you are really cold. So imagine if somebody pours ice down your back and you kind of tense up, you're shivering, you're like just really tense for a bit, not breathing, probably holding your breath. That's kind of what's happening in the gut. If you are drinking something really cold frequently, so ice water all the time, ice cold smoothies all the time, beverages and things like that are always refrigerated or cold, your gut is also tensing and it's not able to relax. We see heat as a relaxing thing. So drinking like an herbal tea can help relax the gut, can help loosen things up. So especially if you're constipated or have bloating or gas, heat is what you need to relax everything and allow things to move and flow smoothly. Whereas something cold will cause things to tense up and you kind of hold on to things a little bit more. So it's not to say you can never have a cold drink, but if you are the type of person that does tend to crave ice and does tend to want cold beverages over warm, or at least over room temperature, I would say try to make the switch over to warm or room temperature, even if you don't enjoy it, just so you're protecting your gut. Side note, if you're a person who really does crave ice, usually that's an iron deficiency, so maybe look into that. But in general, if you're having a random cold drink here or there, it's not the end of the world. It's just overall, try to do room temp or warm, especially if you're drinking anywhere near mealtime. The third thing that really affects our gut is obviously consuming inflammatory foods. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because this is literally, I'm like a broken record on this one specifically. I talk about foods all the time. We all know we need to eat good foods to support our gut. When we're eating foods that have toxins that are naturally inflammatory, so not just gluten, dairy, sugar, but foods that have really bad oils or food colorings or major preservatives, these come in our gut. They elicit an immune response, so we get inflammation in the gut. And anytime there is inflammation and histamine production in the gut, it damages the gut lining. It kind of tears it up a little bit. And the more that this happens, the more and more damaged our lining in our gut will get, causing what we call leaky gut. And this gut lining that starts to separate or tear is now more susceptible to toxins and pathogens and things seeping into the bloodstream. And if things can seep into the bloodstream, then we lose that line of defense, that very powerful line of defense that we have, which is a healthy, strong gut. So not only are we more susceptible to toxicity and different pathogens, but our inflammatory response gets heightened, our digestion gets so much worse, and this is really the start of a lot of health issues. So just eat good foods. Not to say, again, you can never have ice cream or something that's inflammatory, but if the majority of the time you're eating high quality whole foods, sipping on bone broth, sipping on drinks or teas that have gelatin, eating foods that are really nourishing for you, having those prebiotic and probiotics and things like that, that will go a long way to keeping your gut healthy and strong so you can tolerate a treat here or there that might be inflammatory and it shouldn't cause a huge issue for you. The next thing is going to be sleeping wrong. And what I mean by this is if you are not sleeping within your circadian rhythm, you are actually going to have a very difficult time repairing your gut lining. So everything in our body gets repaired at night when we're in a very deep sleep. Once our body's in a deep sleep, it does not need to think as much. It does not need to digest food. It does not need to do any of those processes that it's doing when we are awake. It's not expending energy because you're not moving, you're not running around, you're not sweating really for most people. So your body really gets to take this time to shut down and not only rest, but repair. So all the repairing that our body goes through typically happens at night, especially for the gut lining. If you are going to bed really late and not going to bed within your circadian rhythm, or you're not sleeping long enough, your body is not able to repair. Or if you're eating so late at night that you're going to bed on a full stomach, your body cannot repair because now it has to digest that food that's sitting in your stomach. So the best way to make sure that your gut can actually repair at night is to go to bed within your circadian rhythm, which is typically for most people between 10 and 10:30 p.m. And then you wake up between 6 and 7 a.m. And this is going to get you over time, especially if you're not used to sleeping this way and you start to try to sleep within your circadian rhythm, it'll get your alpha and delta waves. You'll get those proper deep REM sleeps and all of that happening to allow your body to go into repair mode. So you need the different sleep patterns for a long enough period of time for your body to be able to repair. So that's the first thing, is you're going to have deeper sleep, your body will be able to do more. Secondly, though, melatonin is an extremely anti-inflammatory hormone for our gut, and it actually encourages a Th1 immune response, and it actually encourages the gut lining to repair itself. There's so many studies backing this up and proving this. When we are going to bed outside of our circadian rhythm, we're not having proper melatonin production, and so we actually lose the powerful and beneficial anti-inflammatory reactions and support from this incredible hormone. And it's not the same to just supplement with melatonin. You can do that, but you're still, if you're going to bed at say 2, 3 a.m. and then you take melatonin to help you fall asleep, sure, you'll have some melatonin, but you're still missing those alpha and delta waves that you're needing because you're outside of your circadian rhythm. And then by the time the sun comes up, it's not enough time for your body to get into the sleep mode that it needs to be in. And so you're having that poor sleep pattern, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that will cause you to not have, again, that good gut repair. So the best time is go to bed in your circadian rhythm, have proper melatonin release, utilize that melatonin that you're having released at the right time, and have a good sleep. Go to bed on an empty stomach, let your gut heal and repair. And this will take you so far in terms of your symptoms and how your gut functions, especially if you do this long term. So prioritize sleep. This is something that is so important. The next thing is late night snacking. Now, I did touch on this already, but when we eat foods late at night, now it's not to say you can't snack at all. And if you are a person who does need to have a snack at night, do something light like berries or maybe some almonds, nothing that's going to be like, don't sit down to a pizza or chicken wings. As delicious as that is, it is a heavy kind of food, and it's going to really disrupt your digestive process and your gut repairing process while you sleep. So when you're eating late at night, your body is not able to physically, again, repair the gut lining because now it has to focus on digestion. The issue, though, is that when we're sleeping, our body's in a very calm mode. So even digestion becomes very slow, very sluggish, making you more susceptible to gut inflammation and feeding pathogens through the night. So it's so important to try and minimize snacking. And I usually say stop eating by around 7 p.m. if you can. Fast overnight and then have a meal right in the morning when you wake up. But that way you're having the night to repair, which is really what it's for. It's for everything to shut down, including our brain, for everything to shut down and our body just can fix itself. It's not worrying about other stuff. Now, the last thing I will say before we end the podcast is being sedentary. This one is something that most people don't think about, because usually when we're talking about, oh, I'm sedentary, we're thinking about weight for the most part, but it actually affects our gut so much. It doesn't only affect our weight, but when we're sitting, most of the time we're slouching as well, which isn't great, because then we're squishing and inhibiting our gut from that elongation and from that movement, that peristaltic movement, to take place efficiently. Especially if after we eat, we're sitting and slouching, it really also puts our lymphatic system out, and then we get more sluggish digestion. So if you are eating a meal, you want a nice elongated gut. You don't want any squishing or scrunching. You want your body to have full capacity to digest that meal and then break it down. But even if you didn't just eat, just squishing the gut prevents, again, as much peristalsis as we'd like. It really squishes things. So the best thing, which most people can't do this, and again, I'm not going to be delusional and say, oh, just do this, because people are so busy or at work or running after kids. But ideally, you would take a walk, a very gentle walk after you ate. That's probably not possible for most people. But if you can at least eat a meal, and if you need to sit, you're sitting upright, but just throughout the day in general, you're not sedentary, you're moving, you're active. This will help getting blood flow throughout the whole body, especially the gut. It's going to help, again, everything elongate, give your body room and space to digest and move food through you, rather than just scrunching up, squished on a couch all day, either playing video games or on a laptop or cell phone. So open yourself up, allow yourself to have that space, and be less sedentary in general. Doesn't just need to be mealtime, but throughout your whole day. So I'll give you an example of some things you can do for that. I always recommend that everybody does exercises every day. So whether that's the gym or at your home or a walk, swimming, biking, but do something every day that's an exercise that you dedicate to working out. But beyond that, you don't want to just work out and then the rest of the day you're sitting. You still need to be moving throughout the day. So I say try to work out in the morning, maybe do a walk in the evening if you have time for that. And if not, then just walk around your home, go up and down your stairs, take a walk around your backyard, just be upright rather than just scrunched neck down looking at your phone or a screen, because that is really going to shut down your digestion. But that's about it. So those are some tips to maybe incorporate and some things to think about that might be affecting your gut health. And you might be doing not all of these, but maybe one of these things. And if that's the case, then just work on trying to improve or correct that. Again, I'm the first person to admit that life is absolutely crazy. And there are times where, of course, I wish I could go for a walk after I eat, but I can't. Or I wish I could stop my stress, but I can't, because I've got 4 beautiful children that are very high energy. And I'm not going to tell you cut out your stress or do all these things, but being aware of how our day-to-day actions affect our gut. And if you're someone who has constipation, gas and bloating, heartburn, nausea, any kind of digestive symptoms, diarrhea, IBS, then you really want to say, what area of my day can I improve? Is it diet? Is it my sleep? Is it my stress levels? Am I sitting too much, or am I just having too many cold things throughout the day? What can I change to try and give my gut a little bit of a break, and then just incorporate it? And even if you can't do it every day, then at least it's once in a while, it's once a week, it's twice a week, the more the better. But that's it from me. That's the wisdom of the day. I hope that you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you guys like hearing podcasts mainly about gut stuff, please let me know through my social media and I will get more episodes out on that. I'm really trying to have a wide scope with this podcast, talk about so many different things so you don't feel like it's such a niche podcast for like one type of health issue. So I like to talk about all kinds of things, and of course not just health issues, but ways that you can level up your health. So I hope that you guys have been liking what I'm putting out, but if not, please let me know. I love getting feedback and I always pivot and change to what the people want. So if you want to hear something different, please let me know. I also do take podcast requests. So if there's a topic you really want to hear about, you can always let me know, again, through my social media. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you have a beautiful day or night wherever you are listening from, and I will talk to you in the next episode.